Well, look who's back. Welcome to Module 4. So here's what a typical airport gate looks like. Flights are departing, people are rushing around, and there are announcements over the intercom. It's just another day of business travel, right? Well, what you can't see is that every decision you make from the moment you leave your house until you arrive at your destination is being evaluated. Your flight choices, your ground transportation, all of it reflects on your professional judgment. Let me tell you about Kevin. Kevin was a financial analyst at a consulting firm, a smart guy, MBA from good school. His manager asked him to fly to Dallas for a client meeting. Just a day trip, there and back. Kevin looked at flight options. There was a 6 a.m. departure that would get him there by 8:30, perfect for his 10 a.m. meeting. But Kevin's not a morning person, so he booked the 10 a.m. flight instead, arriving at 12:30. No problem, Kevin thought, I'll just move my client meeting to 2 p.m. Except the client couldn't move the meeting. They had other appointments, other commitments. So Kevin's manager had to call the client, apologize, and reschedule the entire trip the following week. The client wasn't happy, Kevin's manager wasn't happy, and when Kevin submitted his expense report, his manager noticed something else. Kevin had also booked the return flight at 6 p.m. instead of the last flight at 9 p.m. to avoid traveling too late. Kevin's manager called him in. Help me understand your flight choices. It seems like you prioritized your personal comfort over business efficiency and client convenience. Kevin tried to explain, but the damage was done. Later, when promotion decisions were made, Kevin wasn't considered. His manager's feedback doesn't always demonstrate the client-first mentality that we need. Same flights, same cost, different choices. The 6 a.m. departure would have shown that Kevin was willing to be inconvenienced for business success. The late return would have maximized the business day and minimized travel time. This is the psychology of flight booking. Every choice signals your priorities. So how should you choose flights? Here's the priority order. First, business requirements. What time does the client need? What meetings are scheduled? What makes the most business sense? Second, cost efficiency. Not just ticket price, but the total cost, including ground transportation, extra hotel nights, meal timing. Third, company policy compliance. Advanced booking requirements, preferred airlines, class of service restrictions. And fourth, personal convenience. Well, that one's dead last. Now, I know this seems harsh, but remember, you're not traveling for fun. You're traveling to represent your company and serve clients. Your comfort is the lowest priority. What about airline loyalty programs? These can actually help your company. Better seats, priority boarding, free upgrades that don't cost extra. But don't let your loyalty program influence flight choices that cost the company more money. Don't book United when Southwest is half the price just because you want United miles. Most companies are fine with you earning personal miles on business travel, but the business decisions come first. Let's talk about the elephant in the room, flight upgrades. This is where I see the most career-damaging decisions. Someone books business class on a 2-hour domestic flight because I need to work during the flight. Or they use miles for an upgrade and don't think about the optics. Here's the reality. Unless you're a senior executive or have explicit company policy allowing it, domestic business class upgrades are seen as self-indulgent. I saw a new hire get fired for booking business class on a Boston to DC flight. 90 minutes in the air, and the upgrade cost an extra $400. His manager's reaction: if you think the company should spend $400 so that you can have a slightly wider seat for 90 minutes, you don't understand business priorities. But there are exceptions. International flights over 6 hours, red-eye flights where you need to work immediately upon arrival, flights where you're expected to work during travel. The key is getting approval first. The flight to London is 8 hours overnight, and I have a client presentation the first thing the next morning. Would an upgrade to business class be appropriate so I can arrive rested? This shows you're thinking about business impact, not personal comfort. Now let's talk about ground transportation, because this is where people make expensive mistakes without realizing it. You land at the airport. How do you get to your hotel or meeting location? Let's say you're flying into Chicago or going downtown. Option 1, taxi, $50 to $70 plus tip. Option 2, Uber or Lyft, $35 to $50 plus tip. Option 3, airport shuttle, $25. Option 4, public transit, $5. Option 5, rental car, $40 a day plus parking. Your instinct might be to take the most convenient option, taxi or Uber, but what message does that send? It depends on the context. If you're going straight to a client meeting and need to look professional, Uber makes sense. If you're just going to your hotel and have time, public transit might be the best choice. The key is demonstrating cost consciousness while maintaining business appropriateness. Now let me show you 2 expense reports from the same trip. Employee A, $65 taxi from the airport, $45 taxi to the client meeting, $45 taxi back to the airport, total $155. Now here's employee B, $5 train from airport to downtown, $15 Uber to client meeting, professional arrival, $5 train back to the airport, total $25. Same meetings, same destinations, $130 difference. Which employee demonstrated better business judgment? Now, maybe employee A had a legitimate reason, heavy baggage, time constraints, unfamiliarity with public transit, but they didn't explain it on their expense report. Employee B added a note, use public transit where possible to minimize costs while ensuring professional arrival at client meeting. Here's how to think about ground transportation. Safety first. If it's late at night in an unfamiliar city, take the safer option. Professional appearance. If you're going directly to a client meeting, arriving sweaty from public transit isn't ideal. Time efficiency. If public transit takes 2 hours versus 30 minutes by car, your time might be worth the difference. Cost consciousness. All else being equal, choose the less expensive option. And document your reasoning when the choice isn't obvious. Now, what about rental cars? This gets complicated because rental cars have hidden costs. The daily rate might be $40, but then there's insurance, gas, parking, and tolls. A $40 rental can easily become $80 a day in total costs. Plus, rental cars create additional expense report complications. Gas receipts, parking receipts, toll receipts, more opportunities for mistakes. Generally, rent a car only if you need it for multiple stops, multiple days, or if public ride transportation would cost more overall. International travel adds another layer of complexity. Different tipping customs, different transportation norms, currency conversion, foreign transaction fees on your credit card. In some countries, what looks like extravagant transportation is actually standard business practice. In others, what seems reasonable might be seen as wasteful. Research beforehand. What's the normal business transportation between Tokyo Airport and downtown? Should I take the express train or is a taxi expected for client meetings? What if you use your personal car for business travel? Most companies reimburse mileage at the IRS standard rate, currently around 65 cents per mile. This usually covers gas, wear and tear, and insurance. But be careful with mileage claims. Companies audit these closely because they're easy to inflate. Keep detailed records, starting odometer readings, ending readings, business purpose, dates. Most people get in trouble for sloppy mileage documentation. Use a mileage tracking app like MileIQ or Everlance. They use GPS to automatically track your trips, which provides better documentation than handwritten logs. And never, ever inflate mileage. The IRS considers false mileage claims to be fraud, and companies fire people for it regularly. What happens when travel goes wrong? Flight delays, cancellations, weather problem. This is where your crisis management skills get tested and your response can actually enhance your professional reputation. Let me tell you about Lisa. Lisa was flying to Seattle for a client presentation. Her morning flight got canceled due to weather. The next available flight wouldn't arrive until 10 p.m., too late for her morning meeting. Here's what Lisa did wrong initially. She panicked, booked an expensive last-minute flight on a different airline without checking with anyone first, $800 more than her original ticket. But then Lisa did something smart. She called her manager immediately. My flight was canceled. I had to rebook to make the client meeting. It cost more, but I thought the client commitment was priority. Was that the right call? Her manager said, absolutely. Thanks for prioritizing the client and keeping me informed. The expensive rebooking became a demonstration of good judgment rather than poor planning. Here's a template for travel disruptions. 1. Assess the business impact immediately. 2. Take reasonable action to minimize the disruption. 3. Communicate with your manager right away. 4. Document everything for the expense report. And 5. Learn from it for the next time. The key is proactive communication. Don't surprise your manager with expensive problem solving on your expense report. Now, let's talk about airport behavior because you're representing your company from the moment you start traveling. I've seen people get into trouble for social media posts from business trips, inappropriate behavior at airport bars, and unprofessional attire while traveling. Remember, you might run into clients, partners, or colleagues anywhere during business travel. Dress professionally, behave professionally, and be mindful of what you post online. Should you get TSA PreCheck or Global Entry for business travel? These programs cost $85 to $100 and last to 5 years. If you travel even occasionally for business, they're worth it for the time savings and efficiency. Some companies do reimburse these costs. Ask your manager or HR. What about baggage fees? Should you expense checked bag fees? Most companies allow reasonable baggage fees for a business trip. One checked bag is usually fine, especially for longer trips. But don't check bags unnecessarily just because the company will pay for it. Pack efficiently and use carry-ons when possible. And never expense baggage fees for personal items mixed with business travel. If you're extending a trip for personal time, don't expense the extra bag for your vacation clothes. What about seat selection fees? Airlines now charge for everything. Aisle seats, window seats, extra legroom. Basic seat selection fees are usually acceptable, especially for longer flights, but first-class upgrades, premium cabin access, and luxury amenities are different. When in doubt, ask, is it reasonable to pay extra for an aisle seat on this 5-hour flight, or should I take whatever's assigned? Finally, let's talk about documentation because transportation expenses get audited frequently. Keep every receipt. Flight confirmations, ground transportation, parking, tolls, everything. Take photos or receipts immediately. Don't wait until you get home. Thermal paper receipts fade and taxi receipts get lost very easily. For rideshare services, the electronic receipts are usually sufficient, but screenshot them or forward them to your work email immediately. Let me end with another success story. James was a consultant who traveled frequently. He developed a system. As soon as he got any transportation receipt, he'd take a photo of it and upload it to his expense app with a quick note about the business purpose. When he got back from trips, his expense reports were always complete, accurate, and well documented. His manager noticed in James' performance review, the manager specifically mentioned his excellent attention to detail and professional expense management. James got promoted ahead of his peers partly because his manager trusted him with bigger responsibilities based on how he handled the small ones. Here's your transportation survival guide. 1. Choose flights based on business needs first, personal comfort last. 2. Get approval before any class upgrades. 3. Use ground transportation that balances cost and professionalism. 4. Document your reasoning for expensive transportation choices. 5. Communicate proactively during travel disruptions. 6. Keep detailed records, especially for mileage and receipts. 7. Maintain professional behavior throughout travel. And 8. Think total cost, not just the ticket price. Remember, every transportation choice is a judgment call that reflects your priorities, your cost consciousness, and your understanding of business needs. In Module 5, we're going to tackle the most dangerous part of business travel, meals and entertainment. This is where good people make career-ending mistakes over a glass of wine or an expensive dinner. Because the most expensive meals aren't the ones that cost the most money, they're the ones that will cost you your job. I'll see you in Module 5.